everything's all set and good to go, I think.
I think so. Let's do it.
Welcome everybody to Talkin Geek. We are on season 1, episode 14, and 2 more weeks before we are off for, about 2 weeks, I think? Or this week and next week, and then we're off 2 weeks.
Correct. We're going to take a little time off around Christmas and New Year's. We're going to come back refreshed in 2020.
For season 2.
I am not going to shave.
Oh.
Just so you know.
So,
still keep the beard.
Here we are, guys. I'm your host, Aaron, and I'm here with the lovely co-host, the Cape Crusader himself, Robert.
Lovely.
See?
I don't know that I'm on board with that.
Oh, I was trying to be helpful.
That's all right.
So we're here. We want to know what makes you geek, guys. And we got a lot of news that dropped today. This
whole
week, I should say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we have some movie talk with a bunch of trailers that dropped. Some Star Wars warnings. So, we got to be careful with Star Wars coming out in about a week, right? Week and a half?
Yeah. Coming out in a week and a half, yep.
Okay, then Crisis on Infinite Earths has started this past Sunday, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Little comic news, as well as some gaming news, and a lot of information from the Brazil Comic Con. And, I mean, guys, we feel like we should just jump into it because we had so much going on.
It's been crazy.
And it's pretty much all in your realm, I think, for this first half.
I mean, you like movies too. This is not just me.
I do, but you know so many more movies than I do, and I'm always going to bow out on that one.
All right.
The first one that I think is probably one of the biggest trailers that came out was Wonder Woman 1984, guys.
Wonder Woman!
So
I loved the first movie. I'm so ready for this.
Oh, it's two of us. I'm excited. Right now, if you are watching us live, I do have a picture, one still from the show with. I'd love that she's really using that lasso in the whole trailer.
Dude.
I
when she's
happy.
riding the lightning with it.
Yes.
I was like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Yeah, so spoilers if you haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah, sorry.
Whatever.
A bunch of trailer spoilers, I
You'll
guess.
love it. Yeah, and I really liked the way, obviously they're going to have to explain it because I have no idea how this Steve Trevor is back.
Yes.
It seems like it's going to be some sort of plot with Max Lord, played by Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
Like he's going to somehow figure out a way to pull him through time or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's not like a descendant.
No.
Like he's like a grandson or something. Like this is Steve.
This
actual
is him.
Steve Trevor.
Yeah.
And I really like that they're kind of flipping it on its head from the first movie because in the first movie, obviously Wonder Woman has never been exposed to the outside world.
Right.
And so it's not like she's, naive, but she's a fish out of water.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't, like she sees a baby for the first time or like ice cream. Oh my God, it's so good. Like that kind of stuff. And so this time it's really cool that they're like flipping that on its head because you've got a man out of time who's been like 60 years, 60, 70 years since he's been. And so he's like, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what the world is. And that was the nice little trailer, like the button at the end of it where it's like, it's all art. And he's like staring at a trash can.
Except that's a trash can.
Right, that's a trash can. Oh, yeah. It's just a trash can.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's cool to kind of flip that from the first movie because obviously in the first movie, Chris Pine was doing a lot of the heavy lifting as, I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're turning that on its head where he's going to be a character that really feels very out of place. Doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Definitely, obviously Wonder Woman looks awesome.
Oh, of course. Of course they had to get the shot of the stilettos that she's kind of like running around in.
Those aren't stilettos. They are pumps.
Oh, pumps. I'm sorry. Pumps. Somebody knows his shoes a little bit better than I do.
I'm just glad that they're not stilettos because stilettos are like the one little like the tiny heel.
That's right.
You can't run and fight in those.
You can't.
But
you could kill somebody.
Watchmen 2009. Silk Spectre, bullshit. You can't fight like that.
I mean, she could take it off and kill you probably with it though.
I mean, I guess
right in the temple.
You can't run with it.
No, she couldn't run. That's true.
So, and I'm not sure that killing is really what she's trying to do.
I mean, yeah, dude, she's an odd job with shoes. Come on, leave her alone.
Well, and she's using her headband like a
that was
boomerang.
So cool.
That was cool too.
I mean, that's such a throwback too to the comics.
Yeah.
And I love how you commented already, and I know you're more of a Batman fan, but the villain in this one. Obviously, one of his powers is he can grant you a wish, but there is a price to pay.
Right.
So that could be how they're going to bring him into it, and maybe she wishes him to come back. And we also know Chitara is in this one, or Cheetah. I always forget how you say her name. Cheetah.
You're going back to like
Thundercats now.
Okay.
I always get them too confused. Chitara and Cheetah.
It's just Cheetah.
She's gonna be in it.
Yeah, played by Kristen Wiig.
Right.
Obviously of Saturday Night Live fame, and she's been in a bunch of other stuff. She was in like that Ghostbusters reboot. And
I don't know anything about that. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Ghostbusters hasn't been in the news at all, so.
No, not at all. At least not that one.
No.
So, but yeah, I'm excited for this one.
I mean, Wonder Woman, like I said, I love that movie. It's one of my favorite comic book movies ever.
Yeah.
And I am super excited for the sequel. Super excited to see what they're doing. I saw an interview with Patty Jenkins, who is the director, and she talked about bringing Chris Pine back as Steve Trevor.
Yeah.
And how it was something that they actually thought of when they were filming the first movie, like, oh, this would be a really cool story beat. Like, not we want to bring the actor back and we like his character. It was more like this is in service of the story. So, I mean, obviously the director is gonna say things like that, but also that's kind of cool to hear. Like, they obviously think like we have a really cool story in place and it requires this character and this kind of manipulation to get him there. So I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm excited. And kind of switching notes because we got, like you said, we're all kind of right on the comic book note still. Ryan Reynolds has a new movie coming out. He has actually a couple, but in this one that just dropped, Free Guy. Yeah,
it's like a video game.
Yes.
Like where he is basically a non-playable character.
He's a non-playable character.
Living in a video game.
Yes.
And it's like, kind of like an open world concept, and there's just obviously he's like a bank teller.
Yeah.
So there's really funny sequences in that where he's like, getting the bank is being robbed, and the security guard and him are just like, it's just another day at the office, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like obviously, like that's just part of the standard. So yeah, it looks pretty interesting. And then he kind of breaks out from the monotony. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too.
I like Ryan Reynolds. So.
I like Ryan Reynolds, and I like it's a different take. It's a different movie because you're right. He's an NPC in a very for anyone out there that plays a lot of video games, a GTA kind of world. Everyone's kind of shooting at everybody.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like one scene, the guy gets thrown through a window. He's like, "Oh, just another Monday."
Right.
And it's just like, okay, I guess we'll just go with that. Picks him up and he walks back in like nothing happens.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
And then he essentially kills the player. Puts the glasses on and realizes he's an NPC. He's a non-playable character in a video game.
Right. It'll be really interesting to see, like, does he have any concept of what's going on? Or, like, because obviously in the trailer, it's the first trailer. We don't really know much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was an interesting trailer for sure. Mm-hmm. I hadn't really heard about this movie before that trailer came out. And now I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, I like Ryan Reynolds. I think it's an interesting concept for a video game movie. And so... yeah, it'll be cool to see what they do with it.
I think so. I think it'll be really fun. And another action movie that's coming out, James Bond had a trailer that dropped.
Yeah. So many trailers.
James Bond, this is his last one, I believe, right?
Yeah, Daniel Craig's fifth and final movie. And if it goes by the pattern of the previous 4 movies, this will be a good one. Because Casino Royale was good, and then we had Quantum of Solace, and then Skyfall was really good, and then Spectre was So now we've got... No Time to Die is the new James Bond movie. It's a pretty cool title. I really like what they're doing with this. It's interesting because it seems like every James Bond movie, it's basically like, you're a relic of the old days, James Bond. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like the first movie. Like, even in Casino Royale, it's like, the 00s are outdated. And so it's like, this is always what they're doing. But it looks like they've got some pretty sweet action scenes.
Oh, gosh,
They're bringing in another 00 to kind of play off him. Played by, I don't remember who it is and what actress it is. But
no, I don't either. I saw her.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
It does. I mean, I'll be honest. I've loved James Bond since Dr. No and Sean Connery. I've always liked the James Bond films. I expect you to die, Mr. Bond. And Goldfinger. I know my Bond movies.
All right.
I know them.
You expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond.
I expect you to die.
That's a great line.
Oh, I love it.
One of the all-time classic villain lines.
Oh, yeah, it really is. And it's always used. And I'll be honest, when Daniel Craig took over, I didn't like that they kind of retconned how Bond worked. Because essentially, James Bond should have been the same person from Dr. No all the way up till that point.
This was like a hard reboot.
Yeah, it was like, nope, those were always different people. It's more of a title and all that. So I'll be honest, starting with Daniel Craig, I was always kind of iffy watching the films. And especially the first one I got introduced to, I missed Casino Royale. I was Quantum Solace.
Casino Royale, and I was like,
so good. I went back and watched it, and I was like, okay, now I like Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
So I watched it out of order, but I've been liking them.
Yeah.
And I've heard rumors that this is kind of like going to lead into that. The other girl now is going to replace
like a spinoff.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. A lot of action.
Yeah,
typical James Bond film, honestly.
And it's the first trailer, so we don't get a lot of story beats. But obviously in Spectre, which is kind of the most forgettable James Bond, I've actually only seen that one once out of the Daniel Craig movies. Like I've seen all of them multiple times. That's the only one I've seen once. But he gets a new lady love in that one, and so in this one, it seems like there's a secret about her past, and there's always a secret about past. So
especially with him,
we'll see exactly what that comes up with. If it turns out to be interesting, I'm gonna be really on board. If it turns out to be just another tired trope, I'm gonna be like, all right, let's move on to another spy movie,
exactly.
Another spy genre. So, but the trailer looked cool. There was definitely some cool action scenes. I'm always a fan of bringing back guns on the Aston Martin.
Oh gosh,
so that was cool when you got the mini guns coming out, and you're like
blow everybody down.
Right, yeah, and obviously you have to aim by driving the car, so that's kind of fun.
But aiming if you're above knee level, you might be okay.
Yeah, so. If you get shot like 6 times in the thigh, you're probably gonna die. The femoral artery is pretty.
Okay, guys. But now, relative to the past, I like how you said that because the next trailer that dropped just 2 days ago?
Something like that. I don't know.
Is kind of, to me at least, a relic from the past, and that would be Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is going to take place actually after the second Ghostbusters film, where they're not even talking about the reboot one at all.
Right.
That's in a whole other.
Yeah, the one that
galaxy.
came out a few years ago was always separate from.
Yes.
That was like a reboot.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Those characters were not in the world. From the original 1984 Ghostbusters.
So weird because you had Bill Murray and all them do like a quick little cameo.
And it also felt like a totally missed opportunity because like that seems like it would be really easy to do.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they're about to do is like we're going to build off what happened 30 years ago. Like
oh my gosh, yes.
Like I don't understand like it was always a weird concept that they didn't make that a sequel.
Oh yeah.
But now we're getting one.
Yes.
And it's being directed, I think, by
James Ritterman, I believe.
No, it's Reitman.
Reitman, sorry.
And that's the original director, Ivan Reitman. I believe it's his son.
Yeah, it's his son that's taking over.
Is doing the movie. So and most of the original cast, I believe, is returning. Obviously,
yes.
Harold Ramis has passed away.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard about Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
He's been retired for like 25 years, so
yeah, I think
it's doubtful that he's coming back, but you never know.
Yeah, he might do a little quick 2 seconds maybe.
Yeah, he retired for basically like family reasons. I think his wife passed away, and so he basically retired from acting to take care of his family. You gotta respect that.
Exactly. Can't force him to do that. And
yeah.
It's like, cool.
So, but now, he's been retired for a long time. His kids have presumably grown up at this point.
Right, they should all be in their 20s or so.
So you would think that if he was going to make a return to acting, he could do it in a movie like this, but I haven't heard that he has. But
same.
The trailer didn't really have any new footage of the old cast.
Right. So. That is correct. I loved it. The only thing that came back that we saw that was old, the Ecto 1, which I do have up right now.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was literally the Ecto 1, it looks like, from...
And it looks like the tires are 35 years old.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm like, that tire's going to pop.
It's like squealing as they're sliding, and I'm like, that tire would be falling off right now.
It just... Well, that's good. That's gone. Yeah. And it looks like, based on the trailer, it does seem that it's going to follow Egon's grandchildren. Or grandchild.
Yeah, at least one of the kids seems to be his grandchild. Maybe 2. Because it looks like they're brothers. I think
it does because they both have that curly black hair.
Yeah, one of them's from Stranger Things.
That's the older one, right?
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard, I believe, is the actor's name.
Oh, okay.
I think that I'm not a huge Ghostbusters guy. This trailer, even though Paul Rudd,
Paul Rudd.
is in it, it really leaned more heavy into horror elements than anything comedic. Yeah. Like there was a couple of comedic beats, but really not anything majorly funny.
Right.
Which actually I'm kind of on board with because usually comedies, like you get a comedy trailer and it's like they hit you with all these jokes and then either those jokes aren't funny in the movie or it's like, oh, they used all of the funny stuff and now the movie's not funny at all. So I'm totally okay with the approach that they took with kind of focusing more on the horror elements. Having it focus on kids, I think that's an interesting choice. I mean, that's a lot of Stephen King stuff. Obviously, Stranger Things is very focused around kids and horror stuff. So that's a well-worn trope, but it is a trope because it works.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting.
It'll be really fun. I'm glad to see that at least the other guys are coming back eventually. They're going to start, hopefully show them. So it'll be a good one. It'll be a really, really good trailer, I think. Or a really good movie, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen the first Ghostbusters, but I just came to it a few years ago for the first time. Oh. I've never seen the sequel, and I didn't see the reboot. I might see this one. I don't know. It's gonna depend. It's gonna depend on the wife. To be quite honest, if she wants to go see it, I'll go see it. I probably won't push for it unless I see a few more trailers or I hear when it actually comes out that the reviews are really, really good. Then maybe I'll go see it. But I thought the trailer was good. Yeah. But it didn't really change I have to go see this. It's not. Exactly. It's not all of a sudden on my most anticipated 2020 list or anything like that.
And it's definitely gonna hit that nostalgia button. That's what they're gonna shoot for somewhat, I'm sure. But I really hope they take the story and just evolve it and not just be we're just trying to get nostalgia just to get money. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
But Disney, I think, is going to try to hit the nostalgia button. And that's all. I don't know if that's all they're going for, though.
Yeah.
They released a trailer.
They're looking to make billions of dollars. They actually, I think that they broke the all-time box office record this year by passing $10 billion.
Yes.
We're going to keep
Frozen
2, Endgame.
Just
they still have Star Wars coming out, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it's true. That'll push them well.
Yeah, they're going to make all the money. But yeah, next year they dropped the trailer for Mulan.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest with you, that trailer looked awesome.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
It didn't look like there was going to be a lot. I don't know if I heard this. I think they're taking all the animals out, though, like the dragon and all that, it seemed like. But I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no dragon in this, but obviously it's a world with magic because we see one of the villains basically transform into a hawk, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a bird, yeah.
And so obviously there is magic in this universe. They definitely are changing from the Disney animated version because in this version it is not, the villains have been changed. There seems to be a major female villain. That's the one that is changing into the hawk.
Yeah.
But man, this trailer, the action scenes look cool. I really like the atmosphere, the music. And they've said this isn't going to be a musical, that it's not going to have... it might... They haven't said definitively it won't have any of the songs.
Yeah. But
they have said it's not a musical.
Yeah, it's
but the music they used in this trailer was an orchestral version of Reflections.
Oh,
From that original... And that's a great freaking song.
Yeah.
I love that song. So, yeah, I was totally on board for this trailer. I thought this trailer looked awesome.
I did, too. I was really impressed, especially I didn't care for any of the Lion King trailers when that one came out.
I didn't even see the movie.
I was disappointed.
Ugh.
I have a best friend. She is obsessed with it. I've known her almost 30 years now. We were talking about it, and she was like, I watched it because I love Lion King. I hated it, she said. She's like, I don't want to watch it ever again, kind of thing.
I mean, I've only seen clips of it, and I think it looks terrible. I love the original Lion King. Yeah. I think Disney's been real hit or miss with these live-action movies.
Yeah.
I liked their Jungle Book remix.
That one was good.
The Beauty and the Beast live action, it was what was the point? Why did they even make this movie? Which, obviously, to make billions of dollars, which they did. That movie made $1 billion. Lion King made $1 billion. I think Aladdin made $1 billion.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to see him. Dumbo was awful and boring, and I liked that original animated version, and I did not care for the live action one.
And that's because Burton did that one, didn't he?
Tim Burton did that one, yeah. And actually, Guy Ritchie did Aladdin. Which always seemed like a really weird choice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet either. As soon as it comes out on Disney Plus, I'm sure I'll check it out.
Oh yeah, you'll have to watch it then.
But I've heard mixed things. I think people liked it more than they were expecting to, but I think that was partially because people were like, "This movie's gonna suck."
Yeah.
so
set the bar down here. You just got
right. It was like, oh yeah, it actually wasn't as bad as I thought. You're like, is that really? That's like damning it with faint praise,
right?
It's not really that impressive.
That's true. But we'll see. I mean, again, it looked good, and this is like you said on all these are the first trailers, so second trailers will have more, and if they do more after that.
But this movie for sure, out of the trailers that we're talking about today, Wonder Woman and Mulan are definitely the two that I'm most excited for. They both look pretty awesome. And so definitely this Mulan movie. I mean, I really like the way that they showed her, having to fight for her family, that kind of thing. They show the scene with her dad, and all that stuff. Looked really cool.
It did. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And Star Wars comes out in about 10 days or so.
Star Wars comes out in about 10 days, yes.
And they released a warning. Disney's like, hey guys,
yeah,
we need to warn you about something.
Yeah, so apparently there are some, at least one sequence in the movie that has like a strobe light type of effect.
They're going to break out and dance.
So they have issued a warning that anyone with photosensitivity that might be prone to seizures, that they want to make sure that you are aware that there are sequences in the movie that may trigger that. Obviously, they recommend that theaters put up a warning, and that people, if they're going to see it and they think they might be at risk, they recommend like going with a friend that's already seen the movie, so knows when those sequences are, and can help protect you. So
I'm just gonna. Why you cover my eyes?
Yeah, they kind of went through a little bit of backlash with Incredibles 2 because that had some of those sequences where like with the villain that was like flashing, and they didn't put out a warning. Yeah. And so Disney had experienced some backlash. So clearly they learned their lesson. Yeah. And they decided to get out in front of it. So definitely we want to anyone out there that might have some sensitivity or likelihood,
be careful.
Take precautions. Yeah,
be really careful. I laugh. Well, not laugh, but I don't know if you remember this because we're not too far in age. Pokemon, there's a episode with Polygon that gave little kids seizures.
I totally remember that because I didn't watch Pokemon.
I didn't watch it that much back then either. No. But I remember it actually popped up as a news article because there were like a bunch of kids in like Japan had to go to the hospital.
That's crazy.
They actually aired it and with no warning, and all of a sudden all these kids are having seizures. It's like, oh, that's just what this reminds me of. I'm like, crazy. Oh, we're just trying to get rid of our nerd population, I guess.
They can't get rid of us. We're everywhere.
We're always there.
So, all right. So we're now on to you.
Yes.
Right. So Crisis on Infinite Earths has begun. Right.
It has. As of Sunday.
I think there's been 2 episodes that have come out so far. I have not watched any. I'm not into really anything in the Arrowverse, but I might try and check these out if they become available for streaming without any backstory, which probably won't make any sense.
Yeah, you can't need at least last season.
But I know the DC universe. And so I know most of the characters. I might try and get into it. But you've seen both episodes or just one?
I've only seen the one on Sunday. I haven't watched Batwoman yet. So right now, if you're watching, that's the poster they post out. So essentially, what's going to happen is everybody's affected. So we have Batwoman. We have Supergirl, we have Flash, Arrow, DC Legends of Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So all these shows, the last few years, have always done a big crossover. But this is their biggest one yet, since now we have 5 shows going instead of just a normal 2 or 3 at the time.
Yeah, and Arrow is obviously ending.
Right.
So that's kind of, if you're going to do this crossover event, now's the time, right?
Exactly. And that's one thing I will say. It feels a little rushed because of that. Because it was announced at the end of Season 7 that Stephen Amell was done. The girl who played Felicity Smoke was done. They were like, we're not done. We're not doing this anymore. She left, actually. She's not even in this season at all.
Really?
Yeah, she quit. And Stephen Amell's like done after this. He has a child now. He has a wife. He actually goes to Houston a lot because that's where his wife lives. Or what her family lives. Wow, so it's cool.
Pop down there, say hello.
Right, let's go to Houston, guys. So he's done. And sometimes when you watch some of these episodes for this season, as well as like even just the start of this crossover event, it does feel a little rushed. It does feel like some of the storylines that they were going with have kind of done a 180 because I guess they were probably leading like, oh, he'll be here for another 2 years or so. We could flush this storyline on. Well, that storyline we don't even talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
But in the trailer, because I don't want to get too much into it, we saw what looks like for any big DC hero fans, or in general, the death of Superman. So in the trailer itself, you see a clip of a dead Superman with Lois Lane over him, and the iconic image from when Doomsday killed him in the comics.
Which Superman is that? Can you tell?
I can't tell. So if you are watching live, if you happen to know which actor that is and which actress Lois Lane is, I couldn't figure it out. So maybe
it doesn't look like Brandon Routh.
No, it's not Brandon Routh. It's not Tim.
It's not Dean Cain.
Not Dean Cain. I thought it though. I was like maybe because
he love Dean Cain.
I didn't know if he was going to be in it or not. It's not Tom Welling.
Well, they did say that there was a ton of casting announcements that they've made, but they held back on a lot too. So I don't know. Has anyone been super surprising that you've seen? Maybe minor spoilers if there's been
minor spoilers if anything, but not as of yet. Okay. I mean, it's pretty much Okay, this one is gonna be a big spoiler. So if you are, give me like 10 seconds. In the first episode of Supergirl, so I'm gonna pause. Okay, so the first scene of Supergirl, they kill off Superman. In her universe.
Okay.
So her universe of Superman's Tom Welling. I believe it's Tom Welling.
No, that's the one from Smallville.
That's Smallville one. Okay, so his.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't remember the guy's name.
Taylor Heckner or something like that.
Something, yeah.
That's
So
yeah.
he actually gets killed in the first 10 minutes. He's dead already.
Dang.
So they already got rid of that Superman, but we still have Tom Welling who's supposed to come out. We have Brendan.
I think
Roth.
he was in the second episode. I
he?
haven't
Okay.
watched it, but I think I just heard that Tom Welling's storyline kind of gets resolved in that one. So I think he's only in that one episode.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of it's gonna be self-contained because you
Yeah.
have him. You have Brendan Roth reprising his role as Superman.
Yep.
And I believe there's
Isn't he
one...
also in a different
Yeah.
part of the Arrowverse, like as the Atom?
He's the Atom in DC Legends of Tomorrow.
So is he gonna be in Crisis on Infinite Earths as two different two different characters? That's awesome.
In the trailer they showed, you see him as fighting as the Atom, and in another trailer he actually has one of the Supermen pinned up against the wall as he's Superman. And it's
yeah.
Oh, and that Superman they said is supposed to be one that's been through a lot. I forgot what storyline he's from.
Sure, yeah.
But it's supposed to be an older Superman where he's maybe a little more killing kind of thing. Like he's kind of been through the ringer a few times.
Right.
So he's kind of like, I'm done.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
one surprise one I did see that I saw in the trailer, and then he's already come out in Supergirl's episode. Will Wheaton.
Will
Will Wheaton actually is in the Supergirl episode.
Nice.
So I thought it was cool. He's talking about how the world's ending.
Nice.
And it's kind of funny because the crisis is hitting right when he's talking about it.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I thought it was kind of fun to see Will Wheaton in this.
Of Star Trek fame.
Yes.
Will Wheaton, and then Big Bang Theory, obviously.
Big Bang Theory is pretty much what everybody knows him from.
Brought him back into the public sphere, yeah.
Exactly. So Crisis has been good.
Yeah, and the third one is airing tonight. Yeah, actually,
And
maybe even right now.
Yeah, I think it airs at 7.
Okay.
So we have, if you're going to follow it, you want to watch Supergirl, then you're going to watch Batwoman, then The Flash, and then we have to wait about a month.
Okay.
They're putting a pause on it.
Taking a break?
Yeah, because DC Legends of Tomorrow hasn't even started yet, and the final episode of Arrow doesn't pick up till next January, like the second week of January or something.
So is that part of Crisis on Infinite Earth? That's Arrow's final episode?
That's the final episode is going to be that
Wow.
one. And then the whole Crisis will wrap up in DC Legends of Tomorrow.
Crazy, man.
So you can watch
Series
those
finale.
3. What's up?
That's his series finale?
Yeah, that's the series finale. Arrow's going to be over. It was a short 8-episode season.
Wow.
They have left it open for a lot of stuff. So if you've been watching Arrow, Roy Harper, who is the Red Arrow in the comics, and eventually becomes Arsenal because he loses his arm. He just lost his arm.
Okay.
So it'll be
Spoiler.
interesting. Spoiler, sorry. My bad. Well, if you've been watching, by this point, that was like 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, he's lost his arm. It's kind of interesting if they're going to take any of these characters and make other shows because they brought out his daughter.
Yeah.
And she's a Green Arrow. They still have the Black Canary. They have pretty much essentially everybody from Birds of Prey on Arrow and DC Legends.
Yeah,
They technically could make that. So we'll see where they go with it. It'll be interesting. I've really enjoyed it. Flash has already kind of touched on it a little bit with what they're doing with him. If you've been watching the trailers, essentially Oliver Queen's supposed to die and Barry Allen are supposed to die by the end of this crisis.
Wow.
Obviously, Oliver Queen can die because, well, there's no more show. But everyone's wondering how they're going to play it with Barry Allen dying because, well, that show hasn't been canceled yet. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Interessante.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And in other news, though, kind of sticking with it, we had Watchmen.
Yep.
What episode are they on, like 6?
So no, they just
5?
episode 8 aired
8?
a couple
Okay.
days ago, so there's only one episode left in the season. They haven't announced yet whether they're going to do any more. So at this point, right now, we have one episode left of Watchmen of this series, maybe ever. Maybe we'll get another season. We don't really know.
It depends on their ratings.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know it got very high ratings and viewership early on in the show. I haven't kept up with, whether that's been continuing to build. The show for me, next episode is going to determine whether or not I like it. Like they have set up a lot of things and a couple of characters that I don't like what they've done with them.
Okay.
And so, minor spoiler, but if you saw any trailers or anything leading up for this show, you already know Dr. Manhattan does show up. So that's the only spoiler. I'm not going to share anything else about the show, but Dr. Manhattan does show up.
Does he show up or?
Oh, he shows up. He shows up. From a distance, they show
okay.
it. It's not giant blue.
It's not the giant blue one.
You know that we got in the movie or in the comic. But so he is in the show, and I have not liked what they've done with him.
Really?
The last 2 episodes, he's been in, and they've kind of explained what's been going on with him and all that stuff. And I was episode 5 and 6, which focused on a couple of particular characters I thought were really well done, and I was like starting to really get into the vibe of the show. Yeah. And the last 2 episodes, I don't like anything they're doing with that character.
Ooh.
And I hope they turn me around on it.
Hopefully.
You know, they've definitely set up some interesting stuff, but it also, I don't know, it feels really predictable at this point, which means it probably won't go the way that I think it's going to go. Mm-hmm. But it also feels like, oh, this is clearly what they're heading towards, and I really hope it's not that. Because especially with the original Watchmen comic, I mean, you know, that final comic, spoiler for the comic, starts off with, you know, the giant squid has landed on New York, and you're like, what? Like that, the villain won? Like, you can't do that. So it'll be really interesting because the villains of the show are basically white supremacists, and are they really going to have white supremacists win?
Oh God!
Like, so I'm really concerned with where this show is going. I don't know. It had me for, you know, like the first couple episodes. I was kind of getting into the vibe of the show. I wasn't crazy about it. I really liked episodes 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8 I haven't been crazy about. So we'll see. There's only 1 episode left. It's got a lot of threads to tie up. Yeah. We'll see how well they do it. It's incredibly well acted. You know, a lot of the characters are super interesting. But it feels like their hands have really been tied by trying to service some of those older characters, like Dr. Manhattan. I haven't liked what they've done with him. Laurie Blake, who is Laurie Jupiter, so she's taken on her father's last name from the comic of Blake, and she's been in the show. I feel like she's been totally underserved. Like they haven't given her much to do, and then the other character that's from the original comic that's shown up is Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, and his storyline has just been so super weird. Like it's going to tie in at the end. They keep telling us, but it's just like, I don't even know what's going on with that character, and it feels like, I don't know, it feels like a lot of the depth of that character has in the comic has been lost in the show. So it feels like they, like all of the new characters, I really like what they've been doing with them, but it feels like they didn't know what to do with all of the original characters, and they had to find a way to tie them in, and I just feel like they've at least for me, I haven't loved it. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they turn it around, and I love episode 9.
I hope so, because, I mean, I remember, I think it was a couple episodes ago, when you were like, oh, yeah, I'm into it.
I was
loving
in.
It.
Yeah, that was like about a month ago after episode 5 when I was like, man, this looks awesome. I'm in. Right. But, yeah, no.
You know, no, now
and
I'm done.
Then it's been a couple episodes, and, like, this last episode really, really heavily focused on Dr. Manhattan. And because I didn't like what they were doing with that character, it just really felt very not anything that I was into. So, you know, hopefully they surprise me in episode 9, because I don't want it to just be what I think it's going to be. I don't want it to be predictable.
Exactly.
Hopefully they surprise me and I enjoy it. But I guess we'll see what happens next week. I will. And I don't know if you're gonna binge it because you haven't watched any yet.
Oh, haven't watched it even.
So we will have a review of the entire season up at some point over like maybe a week and a half or so after it's aired. I don't know who I'm gonna do it with if you don't.
Got Robert and Kyle.
If you don't watch the show. But yeah, we'll get.
We got others. There's others here. Don't worry.
And we'll talk full spoilers and all that stuff. Yeah. But it's definitely. If next week's episode lands, it could be a really good show. I also have a feeling it's one of those shows that rewatches will really help it. There's a lot of details and stuff like that. And I've only been watching, I've watched each episode one time so far. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully it'll be good. And then you have some Cape Crusaders news.
Yeah,
you know,
Batman.
your boy.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
Batman.
the Batman keeps casting people. So Peter Sarsgaard is the most recent cast of Green Lantern fame. Everyone remembers him from Green Lantern.
Oh yeah,
Right? He played
the
Hector
one,
Hammond, the guy whose head got really huge in that really terrible movie.
I don't remember anything. I just remember Ryan Reynolds fixing that by killing himself.
So Peter Sarsgaard, he's been in a lot of stuff. He's kind of a character actor.
Yeah.
I think he's really good. There's speculation that he's going to be playing Harvey Dent Two-Face. So we will see. It's also possible that he is playing. I think there's like a minor character named Peter, and I'm trying to remember who it is. He's like a minor character that's been in a couple comics. That there's been some speculation because the director Matt Reeves, who's been announcing these characters and actors being announced.
Yeah.
When he's made the announcements, he's always like put it in a tweet like, "Hi, Oswald," or "Hi." Like he's been using the character name, and so for this one it said "Hi Peter," which is the actor's name. But because he's been using characters' names, there's speculation that maybe that's actually a character's name and not the actor's name. So I don't know. We'll see. He's like an assistant district attorney or something like that. I don't know. It's just like some minor character. I don't think it's that. I'm pretty sure it's Two-Face.
I don't think that either.
And obviously, a lot of the speculation about this movie is that it's going to be following the Long Halloween comic storyline, and Harvey Dent has a pretty major part in that storyline. So seems like that would be a logical place.
See, and that's... I know you showed me the picture that I guess they had posted on his Instagram, right?
On his wife's... So Maggie Gyllenhaal is Peter Sarsgaard's wife, and she is, of course, Rachel in The Dark Knight. So the good version of Rachel Dawes.
Yeah. the one people like. Okay.
The one that they kill off also.
Oh,
spoiler alert for The Dark Knight. Of him, like, it's captioned halfway through a shave, and he's got his head shaved just down the middle on one side, and then he's got, his full beard and that half a side of hair left, and so, is the other half of the shave the other side of his face?
Exactly.
The beard, or is it the other side of his head? Who knows? But that's fueling speculation that he's Two-Face.
Yeah, which would make sense. I mean, look at the picture. I get that Two-Face feel, and I was trying to remember. And someone correct me if I'm wrong. With Long Halloween, Zaz wasn't in it, right? I don't think he was. Which Zaz is a serial killer who tallies the bodies on his skin. Yeah. That's the only other feel I kind of get from that picture. Is a Zaz feel, but I don't think he's in Long Halloween.
I'm actually in the process of reading it for the first time, so I'm only a few issues in.
What's if he's the Hatter? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I could see him as a Mad Hatter.
He could be a lot of different characters, so we shall see.
I forgot Solomon Grundy's in that one.
Yes, he is.
So maybe he can be Solomon Grundy.
Born on a Monday. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be good. I think the whole cast so far has been.
And he's another really good actor, so I'm definitely he's kind of lesser profile, but I think he's really talented. I think it'll be.
I just threw Robert off, guys.
I think it'll be really interesting. So
it will be.
Thanks
I think
for
so.
throwing that image.
I threw him off. That was my whole point, guys. So speaking of comics and some Batman news, we actually have Infected Deathbringer #1 comes out, or it came out actually. And that one's going to follow Donna Troy. So basically, right now DC's doing this whole year of the villain thing. So it's all about villains and their comics. Harley's gotten one. Joker's gotten like a #1. Deathstroke's had a few. I think he had #1 before this started, but then they rebooted like a #1 for him.
Okay.
So everybody's kind of getting their own thing. And there's been this one comic called Batman, the Batman Who Laughs. And apparently now he's targeting Donna Troy, who he's trying to infect her, I guess, with like the sickness, I guess, is where basically they kind of go crazy, kind of like a Joker-ish kind of thing to me, I think.
Right.
From what I understand, from what I've read on it, because I'm still catching up on all of it. So it'd be kind of cool. It's going to see how she's going to be dealing with the spin-off of it. So essentially it really is just a spin-off of it. The story is going to follow her basically trying to keep peace around the world, but no one can be trusted. A woman whose past has been her greatest adversary and whose newly awakened dark side is ready to burn it all down and forge a new destiny. So,
Dun, dun.
basically, an evil Donna Troy is what we're gonna get out of this. So it's gonna be cool to see where it could lead. I've always been iffy on the character in the comics. I know you're not a big comic fan, but
it's not true.
For everybody,
I just don't have time.
Oh yeah,
I like comics. I don't have time to get into them.
And I think that's what's slowing me down because I read a lot of Marvel more than DC, and with DC, their universe, no offense to Marvel, their universe is a lot bigger to me, and there's a lot more like strings to follow. It feels like if you want to know what's going on here, sometimes you have to go back like 10 issues or a year ago, read these, then you'll understand what this little one. And it's one thing I don't like about DC is that I have to do that if I want to know like every little theme. Where Marvel, it's usually like, oh, if you just read these like 3 issues ago, you'll figure it out. Okay, I don't have to go a year ago then. So that's one reason that slows me down a lot with DC. So I'm still catching up on all of them. But it's cool that she's gonna kind of go evil. I'm always interested in those characters turning and going to that dark side and how they're gonna handle it all.
Nice.
So yeah. But the other thing is
gaming news.
Yeah, gaming news. So it's something I've preached about on episodes before we did this season.
I've heard you preach. I was out in the pew. You had the choir behind you.
You did. They were preaching. They were preaching with me.
You were on your soapbox for sure.
Oh my God, I've been on my soapbox for this one for like ever. It feels like, and it's coming to an end though. I think finally.
Okay.
Because I preached enough.
What is it?
Loot boxes again have been in the news.
Yep.
And Rocket League, one of the biggest games out there, has finally announced they're removing loot boxes from their games. Or from the game. So essentially, if you don't know anything about loot boxes, if you haven't heard me talk about them before, loot boxes is essentially you pay real money to essentially maybe get something out of it. So you get a box, and it'll have either skins, characters, weapons, depending on what game you play, of course, different things in it, and it's a random generated thing that pops up. You have essentially your commons all the way up to your rares. A lot of countries have been speculating this is a form of gambling, though, because you are spending real money for a chance to maybe get something.
Right.
And it does become addicted. I've seen people who spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to try to get something.
Right.
The worst one, right?
Well, and it's also like one of those things where it's like, okay, there's a 1% chance that you'll get this.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that if you open up 100, you're guaranteed to get one.
Right.
It means like every time you open one, there's a 1% chance. So that actually compounds. If you go like math related, like your statistics, like yes, you have a higher than 1% chance, but it's still like a very low percentage. It's like 4 or 5%.
Yeah, it's
like it doesn't like, oh, all of a sudden I'm guaranteed to get one because I opened 100. No,
exactly.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, because you're right. It's 1% each time you open it, and there's nothing that says that the computer tracks how many you've opened. It doesn't say like, well, this guy's bought so much, we're gonna do something.
It's
for
an
him.
Independent event. It's like flipping a coin 50 times. In theory, it should come up heads 25 times and tails 25 times because it's 50-50 shot.
Exactly.
But that's not going to happen because each time you do it, it's a 50-50 shot. Exactly. It's not like it evens out automatically. It's just, hey, every time you do it,
it's 50% chance, yeah. So. And that's what was happening. And
didn't think we'd be talking statistics today.
You're welcome, world. Math. And don't ever say, you'll never use math. So, because you're right. I mean, essentially, you have a single-digit % chance, if you open 100 even, of getting something. Yeah. EA was notorious about this. They had, in one of their Battlefront games, I can't remember if it was the first or second one, it was like a 0.1 or like really, like even, it was less than 1% chance to get like this certain skin, and people spent like, oh, I bought 1,000 of them, I should get one. They never saw it, ever. Right. Because again, that's when everyone was like, well, how's this possible? You should have 1%. No, it's every time you open a crate. So, Rocket League's finally said, okay, we're done with them. They've implemented them when this first was a big thing coming out a few years ago when loot boxes were, this is a new way to make money. Yeah. And Rocket League's finally said, we're going to remove them. The last patch removes the crates, which once gave random loot to players that paid to unlock them, and it replaces them now with blueprints, which will now give you specific loot. So if you want this one car, this one color, you just go in there and purchase it. Okay. Yeah. So essentially, it's a good thing for gamers because now
it's still pay to get your reward, but now it's guaranteed reward instead of just hey, here's a chance.
Yeah, and that was the problem because the UK has already passed a couple things and I think now the entire the whole country is actually looking at possibly banning it. I think Germany's become a lot stricter on it, and I want to say the United Kingdom, but I want to say all of Europe now is like, hey, maybe we should really think this is gambling, and we need to like put restrictions on this. It's come over in America a couple of times, but nothing too extreme yet to where we're gonna look at putting laws to stop this. And I think it's smart for Rocket League to finally say, you know what, let's just get out of the controversy.
Sure.
Let's wipe our hands clean of it.
Get ahead of it.
Exactly. You know, EA's fighting it because they're trying to say it's not gambling. There's no link. But, you know, as studies come out, we'll probably see that there is some type of link because there is some type of addiction. There's that thrill of, oh, I got something is what they shoot for. Like when you go to Vegas, here's all these pretty lights. When you win, you should play again.
And no clocks.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember walking around, I was like, what time is it?
Yeah.
Keep my watch. Oh, my watch is dead. Dang it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think this is that first step to finally getting rid of loot boxes, and maybe other game companies will follow suit. Halo has stayed away from it, which is one of the other bigger games. Gears kind of goes to it, but it's more just skins. So it's like if you really want a skin, you could randomly get it, but they also have a paid option of if you want this specific one, it's $6 for this one, or you could spend $1 on a box and maybe get it.
Sure.
So it's going to be interesting to see what EA does because they are probably one of the biggest AAA companies that's doing this right now. So it's going to be interesting if they finally say, you know what, let's drop it. I think if a company like them drops it, everyone else will kind of start following suit. And the only other drawback to this, though, is it could make those single skins cost more because they still want to get their money.
Yeah.
So they may say, well, right now that one skin you want's $5, but once they stop this, it may cost 10 or 15 or whatever.
I mean, in the long run, they're gonna get, they're gonna get your money.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Exactly.
But certainly, I think if it were me, and I've played some games that had this type of element, mostly mobile games and stuff like that.
Yeah, mobile games big on that.
And I would much prefer to know what I'm paying for.
Exactly.
Like, if I know what I'm paying for, then I can assess how much I'm paying and determine whether or not I think it's worth it.
Exactly.
But if I'm just, like, buying a gamble box, so I'd prefer, that they do away with it altogether. And it seems like that's kind of the trend that we're heading in, but definitely EA is still pushing back. So
yeah, and they're going to because everyone knows they're the hardest ones to get away from with this. And I love how you say it because like I play PUBG, I used to play on mobile, and I always went around in my underwear basically because I didn't want to pay money for like clothes. And I was like, why don't you just buy the box? Because it's a random item. I want to know what I'm gonna get.
Yep.
So my characters always run around naked. The first thing I was like, where's the shirt? As I'm running around, I don't care about the guns, guys. Give me pants. So yeah, but we also had a lot of news come out, and some of the trailers, I believe you said, came from...
Yeah, Wonder Woman debuted at Brazil Comic Con.
Yes.
That was just from this past weekend. And so this was actually... They announced, and they said that this had more people in attendance than San Diego Comic Con.
Oh, wow.
Don't know whether or not that's true. Maybe they're pumping the numbers. But, I mean, obviously, the cast of, like, Star Wars was there, hyping, Rise of Skywalker. Ryan Reynolds was there talking about his movie,
the
Free Guy.
There's another one, too. I can't remember.
The Wonder Woman people were there. They debuted the trailer, obviously. And then Kevin Feige was there from Marvel. And he showed some early footage from the Eternals. Just kind of some raw footage. So apparently people were really enjoying that, but they have not released that to the public yet, so we haven't seen it yet. And they showed like some still images as well from WandaVision with like a black and white version of them, basically almost like in an I Love Lucy type of setting, which is they've talked about like it's going to visit different time frames, including like that idyllic 1950s kind of TV show family thing. So yeah, the image, it was really cool to see actually. The hairstyle specifically on Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. It was like, man, that is a 50s hairstyle right there.
Like the big old like curls in there.
Well, yeah, it was like the curls and like the short bob kind of like it was. Yeah, so it was cool. And he also talked. Feige said, we're finally gonna see Scarlet Witch. And I'm like, what does that mean? Does that mean like we're gonna see some of her comic book powers, like
chaos magic?
Right. Does that mean we're gonna see the outfit? Like what exactly does he mean by we're finally gonna see Scarlet Witch? But he talked about the show, how it's really gonna tie into a lot of Phase 4 elements, and That looked really cool. And he also provided some updates on She-Hulk and Moon Knight, and I think I'm trying to remember what the other Miss Marvel, which were the 3 that don't really have release dates yet. And he said they're coming sooner than you think. Which I'm like, well, I think they're coming tomorrow, Kevin. So
shoot, 20
that
minutes,
means
hurry up, guys.
Give them to me now. So I don't know what that means.
Right.
But obviously they're coming soon, is what they're saying. And then the other major thing that came out was they actually debuted like the opening sequence DC did of the Harley Quinn movie that's coming out early next year.
Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey one?
Yeah, the Birds of Prey movie. And I know that they announced that it kind of takes place in a parallel universe. So even though it's the same actress playing Harley Quinn, it's Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, it doesn't appear like it's going to tie in at all with the Suicide Squad movie that came out last year. And I don't think it's going to tie in. I know they're doing another reboot of Suicide Squad that I think Margot Robbie's in as well. I think she's still in that movie. But this is kind of its own separate thing. It's going to be in a parallel timeline, they called it. And apparently the opening sequence got really positive reactions. People were saying like it was bonkers, it's crazy, it's violent, it's all those things. So
Harley.
I guess we'll see. Hopefully they do it.
That'll be interesting. And DC's hopefully going to get their act together. You know, hopefully they realize what they need to be doing. I wouldn't mind watching a bunch of separate movies for them though. For right now. Yeah. I really wouldn't, because I mean I love Wonder Woman. Joker was good, not as a Joker, but it was good. You know, Aquaman was a good visual affected movie. So I'm excited. I want to see where they go. And like you said, though, I'm curious what they mean with Scarlet Witch. Or like you said, are we going to see her costume? Because I know Miss Olsen's been mad about her costume. She felt it was too sexualized a couple of times. And she feels that she was the only one with basically her boobs hanging out. And it's like,
well, you know, let's give her the comic accurate story.
Oh gosh, right?
and then we'll see how she feels, right?
Right. It's like, I'll go back to this other costume.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm curious what they mean, because her chaos magic is supposed to be, it makes her an Omega level mutant. So it'd be interesting how you can do that, because she could really retcon everything if she wants to.
Yeah. So it'll be really interesting. 2020 looks to be the year of the female director, because we've got Black Widow's being directed by a female director.
Right.
Eternals is being directed by a female director. Birds of Prey is a female director.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is a female director.
4 major movies.
And I think there's another major movie as well that Mulan.
I was gonna say it's Mulan.
Is also a female director. Yeah. So
dang, 5 for 5. Nice.
Which is really cool, because it's been a long time, and I saw a really dumb comment from Kathleen Kennedy, who is like the head of Lucasfilm, where she, you know, and this comment was a couple years old, but somebody had asked her like, oh, you know, are you looking at any female directors for Star Wars? And she's like, well, you know, it's really hard because you've got to get like experience. You know, it's really hard to find an experienced director. You know, and you're like, all kinds of male directors without experience get shots at like big, like you can't use that as an excuse. But it's a couple years old. Actually, a couple episodes of Mandalorian have been directed by females, including Bryce Dallas Howard, Ron Howard's daughter, did an episode. Also played Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire version.
We don't talk about that.
Well, sometimes we do.
That's all we got from that movie. That was it.
So there was a ton of stuff that came out of Brazil Comic Con, but 2020 is shaping up to really be an awesome movie. I mean, all 5 of those movies sound exciting, look cool, female directors. You know, I think it's about damn time.
It is.
Let's be honest.
It really is. I mean, you got those 5 great movies, and that's not touching on Ghostbusters. That's not touching on James Bond.
James Bond and Free Guy.
Free Guy.
Yep.
And then, like I said, Ryan Reynolds has another one coming out. I can't remember the other movie he's coming out with. So, I mean, next year's going to be a great year, I think, for movies in general.
Oh, yeah.
You know, hopefully one of the female directors wins awards, you know, show that, hey, we're ready, you know, to have these movies.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Black Widow last week. That movie looks awesome. So, I mean, I'm super excited.
I am too. So, on that note, guys, we've been talking a lot about movies and games. So, let us know what y'all thought about any of this stuff in the comments below. Check out the trailers for any one of those movies. Like I said, we got Mulan, Ghostbusters, I was going to say Power Rangers. I was going to say that. I was going to say I had to stop myself.
Power Rangers.
Wonder Woman, Free Guy, Mulan, I mean, Black Widow from last week, guys. So definitely check them all out. Go. Shush.
Yeah, he said Ghost Rider earlier too, people. You know?
No, it's not recorded. It's never happened. So, guys, definitely check it out and let us know what makes you geek and let us know what you thought of everything.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments. So, but like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what makes you geek. Let us know, is there anything we missed this week? Anything that you want us to talk about as we're coming to the end of season 1 and the end of 2019, the end of a decade, the end of an era.
The end is 9.
But I'm excited for 2020.
Yeah,
Super
I'm excited.
Cool stuff coming up,
I am really excited. So maybe we'll talk a little bit some more on next week because next week is our last week for about 2-week period, guys.
Yep.
And we'll take that little hiatus, but we'll be back. Yeah. So enjoy your night, guys, and remember what keeps you geeking.